Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Rachel and I am knitting. Not right now, but most of the time. And I have been knitting. I have this finished object. This is the Cesium scarf by Kat Strickland of Cesium Yarn. It's a really fun, gratifying knit. It has a nice textured pattern that almost looks like a basket weave, or from far away I think it even looks like it is like crochet rows. But this is a nice little scarf. I test knit this for Kat and I knit it over a period of 24 hours. Now you may be noticing that it's a little different than my typical yarn color choice. As you can see on the yarn wall behind me, I'm definitely a purple girl. I really love the color purple for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's been a recent development and I've made it my whole personality. Anyway, whatever. Okay, so this is not purple, but I want to make it purple. So today I'm gonna dye this purple, and I'm going to do it with a high C drink flavor packet. I've previously dyed yarn with Kool-Aid, and I think that this will be pretty much the same thing. The first ingredient on these high C flavor packets is citric acid, which is the same for Kool-Aid. Basically, this means that these little drink packets, at least the ones with citric acid, already have the acid needed built in for the dye to set. So this is a fun, food-safe way if you want to try dyeing some of your knits. This scarf I knit up in Cascade 220 Non-Superwash, and this is the natural color, meaning it's undyed. It's just natural wool. So let's make it a little unnatural and dye it purple. So come on, let's head out to the kitchen. Well, actually, we're going to get some dye equipment out of the abyss that is my craft closet first, and then we will get going. Okay, when I say that the craft closet is an abyss, I mean it, and I also mean that it's difficult to get to. I really need to organize my craft room, but let's get into the closet. All right, I have cleared a path. Moment of truth here. What a mess. Okay, so what I need is this dye equipment up here. I don't trust my strength, so let me put this camera down so I can grab the dye pans. This is what happens when you have too many treasures. All right, I have safely retrieved my dye equipment. I'm going to take this to the kitchen and I'll show you a little bit of what's in here, but really we just need the pans and maybe the tongs for this dye project. Okay, let's unload the dye box. We've got some Rit dye here, and then we've got lots of zip ties. I've got a whole box of jacquard dyes. I really got into dyeing in 2020. Got the pan rinsed out really quickly, and now I'm just filling it with water using the jars that I keep in the dye pans, and I'm just going to soak the scarf for a little bit just so the fibers are already a little saturated before I try to dye with them. I don't know if this is the best approach, but I don't know, it's what I did. So I'm grabbing my high C drink packets and I'm just emptying them into a jar, adding water to kind of make a dye stock, and then just adding it to the water bath that the scarf is in. Hindsight is 2020, and I think that what I should have done is been a little bit more patient and soaked the scarf so it was saturated and wet, and then transferred that to the dye pan without it already being submerged in water. I think adding all of this dye stock to an already pretty full dye pan full of water was maybe not the best idea, but I mean, I don't know, I don't care. It's low stakes. It's not like I'm selling this or like trying to be an expert at this. I'm just dyeing a scarf in my kitchen. But basically the process that you do for dyeing yarn or a finished item with a drink packet like I'm doing here is adding it to the dye bath and then putting the burners that the dye pan is covering on low heat. So this is basically just a boring time lapse from this point on. Let me speed it up here. Okay, now this is at about 20 times speed, so I'm just filming as the dye is exhausting basically. The pigment in the water is moving from the water and being soaked up by the yarn, and then the heat from the burners is helping the dye set into the yarn as opposed to just staying in the water. So I set like a 20-minute timer, but that didn't end up being long enough. You can see the steam kind of coming up from the pan here. So I did a few different 20-minute increments, and I did add more dye. When I was adding the pigment, I added 1 drink packet at a time just to see. But I ended up adding, I believe, 6 dye packets altogether. Here I am just moving the scarf around, see how the water is much lighter than when we started. And I think at this point I'm not sure if I want to add more color, but I ultimately do decide to add a little bit more color because you can see there are some spots that are hyper pigmented compared to others. I took out some of the water from the dye bath and I decided to experiment by just rolling the scarf up into, I don't know, like a little croissant kind of, and then pouring the dye bath directly onto the scarf as opposed to just in the dye bath. So leaving it to set a little bit longer, giving it a little bit more time. The color is definitely not as vibrant as it is just in the dye stock, but it's fun to see the yarn and the scarf soak up the pigment from the water surrounding it. It's just a really fun process, and it's cool to do it with a drink mix because you don't have to worry about contaminating your dishes or any part of your kitchen. It's all food safe. Once I was satisfied with the color, I took the scarf out of the dyeing pan and I brought it to my bathroom sink and I squirted some of Dr. Bronner's Castile soap on it and just gave it a quick rinse. After that, I put some Eucalyptus wool wash on the scarf and left it to soak for about 20 minutes, and that was the way that I washed it / blocked it. Okay, after about 20 minutes went by, I came back and I rinsed it out. I did notice that there were a lot of kind of soap bubbles in the scarf that I'm assuming are left over from the Dr. Bronner's that I didn't rinse out well enough. So I just gave this a rinse. I was really careful not to agitate it or give any friction since it is non-superwash and I didn't want to felt it, but made sure all the bubbles were rinsed out before moving on to the spin cycle. I love to do this with my finished blocking knits. I put it in the washing machine and I put it on a spin cycle just to get out all that extra moisture. I have never had an issue with this. I have never had something be ruined or felted or anything like that, but proceed with caution if you do try to do it yourself. I am not going to take the blame for any heartache. All right, here we are 2 days later, and I have a freshly dyed hand knit scarf. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I used 6 packets of the High C drink mix, and it turned out into this really pretty, like, mauve-y pink. It's definitely not a vibrant purple, but it is a nice, pretty, kind of dusty pink. I'm really happy with it. Looks cute with this dress too, I think. Ta-da! So yeah, that was pretty easy, quick and simple and food safe way to add color to an otherwise plain knit. Like I said earlier in the video, this is just, or was, just undyed wool, Cascade 220, non-superwash, and now it has a nice little pink shade to it. Now the dye did it definitely did not take super evenly. Like for instance, you can see this flash of more pigmentation here. There's a few other spots, like right down here. It seems like it's more pigmented, but that's okay. I wasn't going for perfection. I wasn't going for automation. I just wanted to dye this with some drink mix and see what happens. So I'm happy with the result. If you want to try this, keep in mind that there are different colors out there. There are more flavors of drink mix than just grape, which is what I used. Also, it's not going to be as vibrant of a color as it might make the water that you mix it in. It's going to probably be a more muted version of whatever color flavor packet you use, but I'm happy with this end result. One of the questions that I got asked, Leslie asked me if it would still smell like Kool-Aid or the drink mix after the fact. And I can confidently say I cannot smell any of the grape flavor in this. It smells like a mixture of wool and Dr. Bronner's soap, if anything else. So yeah, I can't smell any of the Kool-Aid. So I think that you'll be fine as long as you let the item set in the dye mixture, whether that's with Kool-Aid or High C or whatever. And then also, I'm having trouble wrapping this. And then also letting the finished item get a little bit of a wash through with a mild soap. I use Dr. Bronner's, and then I also soaked it in wool wash and laid it flat to dry. So just make sure that you rinse it out, get all of that dye out that didn't exhaust into the item, and then give it a little wash, a wet block, and you're good to go. So if you plan to try this, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know what you plan to dye, whether it's a finished item or just yarn itself, and let me know what colors you're going for. One other thing to keep in mind is that this is an animal fiber, so I can't speak to how this would work with a plant fiber like cotton or bamboo or linen, but certainly for this wool, it worked pretty well. So I hope that this video was enjoyable for you. I hope that you liked learning how to dye wool with Kool-Aid or High C or whatever drink mix is available to you. Just make sure that it has citric acid listed as the top ingredient and you should be good to go. So that's all I have for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you don't already, and hit that notification bell to be notified of my next upload. Last but not least, head over to Instagram and follow me at Rachel is Knitting if you don't already. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.